Do you think achieving financial independence means giving up everything you love? Think again. In today's episode, Paul reveals how he and his wife built a 60% savings rate while still setting aside $350 every week for vacations. You'll discover the 3 simple principles that transform their finances without sacrificing their lifestyle. From building multiple income streams to strategic spending, Paul breaks down exactly how regular people can hit financial independence by age 45 while still enjoying the journey. Before we get into the show, I have a quick question. How many hours did you spend last month chasing down rent payments, sorting through piles of receipts, or filling in spreadsheets? If the answer is too many, then I need to tell you about Baselane, a trusted BiggerPockets Pro partner. Baselane is an all-in-one banking and financial platform built specifically for real estate investors. Baselane automates your rent collection and uses AI-powered bookkeeping to auto-track transactions for instant cash flow visibility and reporting without doing any manual expense tracking. Plus, they have tons of other features like recurring payments, multi-user access, and free wires to save you time and money. Less financial busywork means more time to scale your portfolio with confidence. Sign up today at baselane.com/biggerpockets and claim your exclusive $100 bonus to kickstart your path to becoming a pro. Now, let's get into today's show. Paul, I am so excited to talk to you today. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be on the show. Honestly, I watch these episodes when they come out every week, and I know the catchphrase for BiggerPockets Money is to create 1 million millionaires on the show, and we cracked that goal about a year ago at this time. So honestly, we hit it because a lot of the content that people have shared on the show. So I'm just excited to kind of come in and give my story, hopefully to help others.
Well, I am super excited to hear your story too. So let's go back to where you think the beginning of your journey with money is.
So I'm more of a glass half full kind of guy than glass half empty, but we're going to start off with negatives and then we'll build up to positives. So for me, I'm going to say my money story started 18 years old, got a cell phone bill. I had a cell phone, went down to Florida on a trip, and now I'm going to date myself, but that was back in the day where there were roaming charges. So in that 1 week time down in Florida, I can't believe this happened, but my cell phone was $900 for the month.
How old were you?
18.
Were you swimming in cash?
No. So honestly, at that point in time, I couldn't pay the bill, and I didn't pay the bill, and the following month, my cell phone still worked. Shortly into that month, my cell phone stopped working, and I got a different cell phone and kind of moved on as a dumb mistake as an 18-year-old. And everything was fine right up until I needed credit to go purchase something. I didn't know what credit was, didn't know about credit scores, went to apply, got declined. Had my mom actually co-signed to help, still got declined. So that's when I said, okay, I need to research what's going on here. Didn't expect that to happen. And my credit score at the time was at like 400 because I had no credit cards, no anything. The only thing I had at that point was one cell phone bill and collections. So with my first real job, and it worked out because I was living at home at the time, I just took all the money I made out of my first couple paychecks, paid off that collections, and at that point started working towards building up that credit score.
So for anybody who isn't quite familiar with the credit scoring system, it runs from 350 to 850. So I guess it's better that you didn't have 350, but really once you're below like 500, it doesn't matter what the number is. Nobody's going to give you any credit, or they're going to give you credit at like 48% interest because you are such a big credit risk according to those people. Your credit score is a history of your ability to make payments on time, and you didn't make your payment on time, but you were also 18. Like, that's not really fair to give a cell phone to an 18-year-old and then not explain what roaming charges are.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe they did. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention at 18 years old. That's totally possible. But I think, I did a lot of things bad then. So then I had to figure out, well, how do I build up this credit? Well, you need credit to build credit, but you can't get credit with bad credit. So it's like a catch-22. So I started applying for credit cards, not thinking that through. I think I applied for 10 credit cards in one day. right? Got declined for all of them. Well, now knowing what I know about credit, every time I'm applying, that's a hard inquiry on my credit, which also hurts the score. But like you said, you're at 400. You can't do much damage. But one bank gave me a card, and it was a secured card. So a good way to get started. I had to pay $500 up front to get a $500 credit limit. But then with that card, I was able to build my credit back up. So I think, honestly, I'm really happy that all this negativity happened when I was 18 years old. It was kind of a blessing in disguise because I wouldn't have been researching credit or what any of that stuff was. That was kind of the beginning of going, okay, I got to get this figured out and get on track. What does that look like? And those bad experiences forced me to get into it at a young age.
Yeah. And I think that's really great because I can't speak for the credit companies, but I would imagine that they look at an 18-year-old with a 400 credit score very differently than they look at a 35-year-old with a 400 credit score. Oh, what's this 18-year-old's credit scores for? Oh, because he didn't pay his cell phone bill. We understand that. I mean, they're still not going to give you a credit card, but I think it's not going to be as big of a ding. Plus, then you made it right. You figured it out. You fixed it. You worked on fixing your credit. How old were you when you got your first unsecured credit card?
Yeah, I think 21 probably.
Okay. Yeah, that is a note to anybody listening or watching. If you have bad credit, it takes a long time to fix. So how did you discover the FIRE movement?
I kind of talked about being 18 and kind of flipping a switch. Ever since that point in time, I've always been kind of fascinated with personal finance. Now, if I'm being honest, I probably didn't discover FIRE until probably COVID. But all throughout that, right, I was taking a lot of steps to pay off debt so that we didn't have any consumer debt so I could increase my income, putting money away for retirement, paying off, bigger debts like auto loans and student loans. And I think there were a lot of financial habits that I kind of built upon that went really good. And then it just put me in a position that once I discovered FIRE, okay, now we can really jump in, right? Because it's not like we're starting from zero. We've built all this stuff up, similar to even probably what I would have had to do even if I knew about FIRE at a younger age. It just gave me avenues then to get more excited about it and kind of jump into how are we going to get there.
So what was your salary? What was your financial position when you discovered financial independence?
Yeah, so if I say then it was probably about $150,000 a year household income. So my wife and myself combined.
What was your financial position?
Yeah, so at that point in time, I would say we were at a spot where all of our debt was really paid off. The only thing we had left was our house. And we were putting money in 401ks, putting money in Roth IRAs. We did some EdVest investing, like 529 accounts for our kids. But my wife was pushing back on me a little bit, saying hey, I want to live life now. We're putting all of this money in these accounts that's for retirement, which is good. But at the end of the day, what happens, heaven forbid, if we don't make it there or, so, I'd rather enjoy life more now than just that. So that's what kind of caused me to pivot. I agreed with her. I just didn't know how to go about changing up that strategy. And I think the first thing I did when it came to FIRE was dividend investing.
Oh, tell me more about that.
During COVID, started reading more books. I was never a huge reader, but I really enjoyed kind of reading once we had a little bit more time. And I also started watching a lot of YouTube videos. And the person that I followed was Andre Jick at the time. And he had a lot of stuff out there about dividend investing, dividend portfolio. And to be honest, even though it was very small, I remember the first company that I bought was Clorox at the time. Because, right, we're in a pandemic, disinfectant wipes. I thought, hey, maybe this will go way up. And I think my first dividend payment was 32 cents.
Woohoo!
Right, so it wasn't life-changing, right? Very small amount. But I will tell you what that 32 cents did in changing my mindset to go, wait a minute here. I have just found a way that I can take money from my W-2, park it somewhere, and get paid somewhere else other than from my W-2. That mindset shift was a game changer. So, like, that's when I really started saying, okay, how much can I take out of this paycheck to put into here? Because at some point I can get these dividends to replace my income. And at that point, we could retire.
I love that you had the mindset shift. I am not a dividend investor other than whatever is in my index funds that pays dividends. I understand where you're coming from with that idea, and I'm glad that you had this experience because then it opened up new worlds. Are you still a dividend investor?
Yeah, so I would say my strategies have pivoted. Another book that I read, which is pretty stereotypical on this channel, but that really changed my life was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book and, a couple of things really kicked out. Really clearly defining the difference between an asset and a liability was a big deal. And then also understanding the concept of, hey, if you run your own business, right, you can reinvest back into the business as expenses that get charged to the business and reduce your tax liability to grow quicker. So I started thinking about, well, how can I do that? Because we have, I'd say, two pretty heavily full-time jobs with two small kids too. And that's when rentals that bug got into me. So a couple of things too that happened was with the dividend investing, I kind of pivoted from individual stocks and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just getting started to now I'm pretty much exclusively in like S&P 500 index funds.
Is that in your 401k or an IRA or an after-tax brokerage?
401k, Roth IRA, and my after-tax brokerage. Most of my money is in VOO or an equivalent to that because I don't have that offering in my 401k, but then I'm in the lowest cost or lowest expense ratio fund that tracks the S&P 500 in there as well.
I love that you're using these words like lowest expense ratio in your 401k. That tells me that you are reading, you are doing research, you understand that expense ratios should be really low, not really high, or like look for the lowest one. If in your 401k, you might not have the same options that you do in your after-tax brokerage. So look for something that's having decent returns that is not going to be costing you a lot of money. The 1%, somebody did I think it was Ramit, did some
Yeah.
thing about how 1% will cost you like $1 million over the years or something. It's like, please correct me if you are familiar with that one. It was shocking how much 1% actually costs you if you do the math.
Yeah, so I think, kind of the pivot or what made me go from the dividend investing to real estate. And I know what I'm about to say is going to sound crazy, but I wanted to live off of the dividends and not touch the principal. That was my goal. So I knew what my FIRE number was. And when I started working the math back, being in VOO, I think at the time it paid a dividend of like 1.51%. So if I wanted to hit my goal for retirement and not touch the principal, I think that equated out to needing like a little over $8 million in principal invested. And when I say I know that's crazy, I know if I had $8 million invested, it's going to grow at a rate at which I could touch the principal and I'd be fine. But I didn't like that feeling of needing to do that. So when I started looking at real estate with the first property we purchased, I think all in between closing costs, down payment, and the renovations we made, we stuck $65,000 in, and we were generating $950 a month in cash flow. So when I started doing that math, I thought, well, hey, if I wanted to get that $950 a month in a VOO index fund, I'd need to have like 700,000 in, but we're doing this with 65,000 in. And on top of that, kind of based on what I learned with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, now I have tax deductions and I can deduct expenses from the rental to retain more of that income to reinvest into houses. So for me, it looked like a quicker way to achieve the goal that we wanted to achieve than just putting it into the market. And I still think it's a balance. Right? I'm still balanced between those two, but that's what got me really excited about real estate. And I'd say that's probably the last pivot we've made and kind of where we are now.
What year did you buy your first rental property?
First rental was 2021.
Oh, so this is just brand new. 2021 did still have the lower interest rates. It wasn't until June, I think, June or July of 2022, where the Fed started raising rates. How many rental properties do you own?
We are now up to 5 properties, 7 doors.
And are you still buying in this interest rate environment?
100%.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so you, I believe, are in the Midwest, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and typically the Midwest has lower price points than the coastal cities. What was your last purchase? When did you make it? Did you buy it for cash or did you finance it?
Yeah, good question. So the last purchase we made was in October of last year. We bought it for $255, and we just did traditional financing. We have a 30-year mortgage on it.
30-year at what interest rate?
We are at 6.125.
6.125. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, that's really not bad. You must have caught it at a dip because the rates have been dipping and what's the opposite of dipping?
Yeah, raising.
Going up and down,
Yeah.
dipping and raising. There we go. It's like I don't know English. So 6.125%. What sort of cash flow are you getting on this property?
This one we're getting $580 a month.
$580 a month in your pocket after expenses and all of that stuff?
So I know David Meyer always talks about this. That cash flow is based on us paying the mortgage, paying the escrow, paying insurance. If I layered in vacancy, maintenance costs, all those things, because I'm very diligent with all my numbers, I'd say our goal is to retain like 73% of that because, right, some of that's going to go out because of those other expenses. So that 580 is like perfect conditions. I'd say if you layer in that other stuff, we're still going to be probably 400 something a month.
Okay, you can't make money in real estate right now with these high interest rates, Paul. Haven't you heard that?
Yeah.
Paul's like, I heard it, but I didn't listen to it. I just kept on going because I know I can make money in real estate. So how would you classify these properties? What grade would you give them? A, B, C, D?
Yeah, I would say probably B-class properties.
So you're making 400 to 580 on a B-class property that you bought last year with a 6% interest rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's doable.
I'm going to have to get you on the rookie channel too. It is doable. I totally believe it's doable. I think that you have to find a good deal. You have to know your numbers. I mean, real estate is not easy, but it's not hard. You just have to like not jump at everything. I bet you could have bought a lot more properties than what you've been buying. So how much does all of your rental properties bring in cash flow into your pocket or your business's pocket every month?
Yeah, so $4,500 a month right now.
What are your monthly expenses, your personal monthly expenses every month?
Yeah, so personal monthly expenses are now, let me see here. I've got the numbers, $58,000 a year. Oh, that's so whatever that breaks down to monthly.
Well, now I got to break out my calculator because I can't do Scott math. Divided by 12 is 4833.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're almost to covering your expenses.
Yeah, and I will say, when I say that those are the expenses too, just to be clear, I would say that those are the needs expenses, right? That's not to live, as Ramit would say, your rich lifestyle. I would say rich lifestyle, it's probably $92,000 a year. So closer to, I don't know, $9,000 a month maybe.
Okay. And that's still, well, 92,000 is 7,600 a month. So that is still, I mean, you're pretty close now. You could get a couple more rental properties. You have 5 properties. Are you and your wife both on the mortgages?
Yes.
Okay. So if you split that up, you could each have 10 loans. So you could have a 20-unit empire, but I mean, you'll get there.
I won't need that many.
Well, exactly. You won't need that many. I love the way that you think about that. You won't need that many to make this kind of money as long as you're continuing to not do eraser math and buying properties that make sense. Is that your goal to buy? And they have mortgages on them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once those mortgages are gone, you're making even more cash flow.
So yeah, so my strategy, and this is not exciting, right? This is boring, but it works. So like, I want to give that message out there to people is that we kind of do it. I agree with you about being diligent with your numbers, but we do it almost kind of backwards, right? I look for properties in areas that I like, and honestly, a property that I'd be proud to own. It's not just about generating some cash flow. If I'm not proud to have it as part of the portfolio, I'm not putting it in there. Once we find it, then I'll start working the math back from there. And to be honest, and I'm not buying ridiculous properties and making next to nothing on them, but the truth is every single property cash flows. It depends on how much money you're willing to put down into the deal. So, when you hear people saying, I'm not discouraging any of these strategies, right? But hey, getting in with 5% down, or this is how you get in with no money down, or how to flip the house and pull all the equity out. We haven't really taken that stance, right? Sometimes I got to put 25% down, maybe 35% down in order to hit my cash flow goal of 500 per property. But as long as I can get there, my goal, and you said it, right? If I had all these properties right now paid off, they'd be generating $8,600 a month in income with only 5 properties. So I think if I can get to, 7 or 8 properties, and then flip the mindset shift, which will be hard for me, but to say, I'm done acquiring right now. I am going into payoff acquisition mode and just stick all of our investing into paying these properties off. We'll get to a point that then we can retire. And that's not including, we still have our Roth IRA and our HSA and our 401k and all those things that'll kick in when we hit 59 and a half. So I think some people caution me about inflation and what's going to happen as costs go up, but I am not factoring in hitting that retirement based on any of those other accounts that we've been contributing for a very long time. So I think the goal is get to that spot, right? Get to a spot where we can retire and live off of the cash flow. And then who knows? I like this investing in personal finance so much, I'm not going to stop. But the point is, I can do it on my own terms now versus needing to do it with having the W-2.
I love every single thing you just said. You've got all these different buckets to choose from and different sources of income. You've got your W-2, your wife's W-2. You've got your rental properties. You still have your Roth IRA, which you can access before you're 59 and a half, FYI. This is such an awesome story. I love this. You're not listening to, what everybody else is saying. Well, you can't make money in real estate right now, so I'm not going to buy. Yes, you can. And he is. If you don't believe me, Paul's proof. What is your financial independence timeline or number or both?
Yeah, I think probably 5 to 6 years from now. So 39 now, I'm hoping if I could be done at 45 or at least be to the spot, not saying I would be done working, but at least that I could be by 45, that would be awesome because it'd be around when my oldest is going to graduate high school.
Okay. I think that's a very doable plan. You need 2, 3 more rental properties over the course of 5 years. I think you'll be able to find 2 or 3 more rental properties that you can purchase with this ridiculous $65,000 down and $950 a month garbage that you're talking about out there in the Midwest. Or even how much did you put down on the $255,000 most recent purchase?
Yeah, so that one we put down $80,000.
$80,000, and you're still making $400 a month after all of everything, which includes paying down the mortgage. So somebody else is paying your mortgage and then giving you $400 for your pocket.
Yep.
And you're providing them a place to live that they would otherwise not have.
Yeah, and it was really neat. So I know that's one of the things that my wife really enjoys about the rentals too, is that this house was fully flipped. It was actually a multifamily that was converted to a single family. So it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, but it all brand new appliances upstairs, washer and dryer on the second floor with the bedrooms, all brand new appliances in the kitchen. And the young couple that was actually able to move in, they said, hey, we couldn't go out and buy something like this and have all of these things, but they could afford to rent it. So it allows us to kind of upscale and bring some nicer stuff to the community and then give people an opportunity that might not be able to afford buying it and be able to rent it to people. So it's a cool feeling.
Yeah. And not everybody wants to own a house. There are plenty of people who just want to rent, and that's fine. But if everybody owns a house and nobody is renting them out, then those people have no place to live. So I think this is a very valid service. I think it's a very necessary service. And I love that you are able to make money on top of it. So have you ever felt impacted by the boring middle?
Oh man. Yes, I feel impacted by it all the time. Right? So I'm definitely the one. My wife does a good job of grounding me. We balance each other out pretty good, but I want to get there as fast as possible, right? So even like I talked about earlier, when we were putting all this money towards retirement, she was the one that was like, hey, maybe how could we have some of this money that we could use now? Like, she's the good voice of reason. But I think the biggest part about the boring middle is you've got these big goals, even like us getting to FI, right? You're not going to do that in a year. We're 5 or 6 years away. And to be honest, this has probably been, I don't know, 15 to 20 years in the making, right? It didn't just happen overnight, but setting these little goals and almost gamifying it to keep you motivated is what really drives me. So like seeing that savings rate every month, and because I'm the numbers guy, how does that compare to last month? How does it compare to how I did last year at the same time? You know, tracking those things, tracking your net worth, having a goal to pay something off and seeing the progress you're making on it every single week. Like, I think a lot of those things for me are very motivating to be able to just find the small wins to keep you going. And before you know it, right, the years go by and I think you hit your goals.
I love that you are keeping track and comparing this year to last year. And it's not always going to be a win, but seeing how you're doing and seeing that you're doing better every single month, every single year, overall you're doing better is super motivating and really keeps you on track to, to stay the course. Cause it's really deflating to have a great month and then a terrible month and then another terrible month. And you're like, well, what's the point of saving if all I ever do is spend it all? Well, because then you've got it to spend.
Yeah, and I think, looking at it year over year, which is something I really learned from work, but months aren't equal, right? So if you want to track your savings rate, I'm willing to bet you that in November and December, when Christmas is right around the corner, you're not going to do as good as you did in October, right? But at the end of the day, if I want to compare December to October or December to November, it might not look as good. But if I compare December of this year to December of last year, I'm looking at more of like a realistic comparison. So I think, sometimes analyzing the numbers in a different way. Same thing too, around here in Wisconsin, my savings rate's going to be great January, February, and March. When there's a ton of snow, it's below zero, there's nothing to do. It ain't going to be as good June, July, August. And that's okay, right? As long as, over time, you're still driving improvement. I think that's key.
I think that is such a great statement. As long as you are driving improvement, that is key. Do you have people that are local to you that you can connect with? Do you ever go to like Choose Fi meetups?
Yeah, so interesting. I've done a couple of real estate meetups around here, and a couple of my friends are into, the personal finance stuff. I will say it's not like you talk about on your podcast where you're in like a fire hub where there's all these people that want to do this. Something that's been really cool as of late, and I got to give a shout out to, is just the BiggerPockets forums.
Oh,
right? So I follow Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Appleton, and I try to be really active in there, especially new members or people that have questions. I love helping people get started. And I've actually met some people on there, and, they've driven up to Sheboygan to meet and talk about how to get started or what we've done. Or, one couple we met with that we're helping just got their first property in Milwaukee. They close on March 17th. We're going to go down there when they get the keys and kind of like spend some time hanging out with them and showing them the ropes. Or we've given people our work instructions that we've all built for how to manage our business. So a lot of the meetups and connections I've made, a lot of that's been through BiggerPockets. Or even at BPCon last year, I got to meet some cool people, and I'm going again this year. And, I've kind of kept some of those connections alive since going.
Okay, I have to tell you, I have made a ton of connections at BPCon. It is so much fun to go. It is this year in Las Vegas, October 5th through 7th. We actually have a special discount code for anybody who is thinking of attending. Use Mindy50, Mindy 50 to get $50 off of your ticket to BPCon. And it's Las Vegas. Who doesn't have fun in Las Vegas? And it's at Caesar's Palace, which is kind of in the middle of the whole strip. So you are just all over the place there. It is such a great place. If you are at all interested in real estate, you talk to anybody there. Everybody is super nice. You just walk up, what kind of real estate investing do you do? And you will make friends and meet people. And it is such a fantastic experience. It's such a great networking experience, networking opportunity to go to BPCon. And I'm excited that you were there. You were in Cancun.
Yeah.
That was a fun location.
I agree.
Paul, we were just talking about the boring middle. I don't want to gloss over all of that. Do you have any advice for people who find themselves in the middle of it and like kind of despairing?
The one thing that I'll say, aside from just the boring middle, but just this whole process as a whole, I cannot underestimate the importance of finding the right partner. Like, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for my wife, right? So, like, I'm definitely the one that's more driven on this journey, driven to do the real estate, driven to do all of those things. But we have accomplished everything we have accomplished has been us as a team, right? Balancing each other out. Some of the stuff we do might not be typical, or, we sit down and we do monthly meetings to go over all the finances. We review where we're at for net worth. We talk about our goals. We build our real estate strategy quarterly. We meet on our business monthly. Like, we do so much stuff together, and it allows us, I think, to accomplish so much more because you're not, dragging somebody along or fighting to get this stuff done, but it is literally our shared goals and vision. So as far as getting through the boring middle, having that person by your side that supports you, like, I cannot underestimate the importance of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And if you are not partnered up, that's fine. But if you are partnered up, having or considering partnering up, having somebody who is on your side on the same wavelength is so, so important. It will make your investing journey, your life journey just so much easier, so much more enjoyable. I could not agree with you more. All right, Paul, how does FIRE change your perception of work and life?
Yeah, so I think, how we got to where we are, the W-2 is still super important, right? You need capital to do all this from somewhere. And I think that I've worked at my current place it's going to be 20 years in June, right? And I cannot thank my employer enough for everything that they've provided to get me to where I am. And I think people should look at their jobs a little bit differently. So many people, I think, just look at it as, hey, I go to this place, they give me a paycheck, and, it's a very transactional type of relationship. But to be honest with you, my employer, yes, they've given me a paycheck and that capital matters. But they've developed my organizational skills, my leadership skills, my ability to have tough conversations, project management, managing metrics, building procedures, process improvement, everything that I have needed to be successful in starting my real estate business. There's no way I'd be able to do that if it wasn't for my W-2. So, I'm still very grateful for my W-2, but my thoughts have shifted a little bit, where it was all about how much can I give to grow my income. Now I feel like it's more of a mutual relationship, right? Yes, I still want to give back and help my employer and continue to move forward, but also it's a little bit of a give and take, right? What skills can I acquire at work so that I can be better outside of work as well? So I don't look at it so much as a one-way relationship anymore. I look at it more as kind of like a joint partnership.
I love that. Because when it's not a joint partnership, when they are in a different power dynamic than you feel beholden to them. They ask you for something, you feel like, well, I got to do that because I need to keep my W-2. When it's more of a partnership, you can push back a little bit. And that's what being financially independent, having a good financial situation does for you. It just levels the playing field. So you don't have to do all the things that your company is asking you to do. You don't have to feel like you resent them. I bet you have a way better relationship with them now than you did, before you discovered this, because because of what you said, like the joint partnership.
It is, and it's interesting. At the end of the day, you're still going in every day, and everybody around you, nothing has changed, right? It all looks the same. But to your point, like once you unlocked even that 32-cent dividend, it changed the work relationship a little bit. Now, nothing much changed, but you finally saw, hey, there's a way, right? Like, obviously, I can't live off 32 cents, but there's a way, there's a path. And then, yeah, as you continue to grow your net worth, and even now with us at like $4,500 a month, I think our business, because we also do a little private lending, probably makes $5,000 a month. Like, if I lost my job tomorrow, not that I want to do any of that. I plan on working at my employer for a long time yet, but I'd be okay. If I go back to prior to starting this journey, I wouldn't be okay. And it unlocks like this whole different mindset to how you look at like work and life and all those things. So that's one of the exciting parts about going on this journey. And I think, my W-2 is all about growing my career. Now I really look at it more as like job fulfillment than I just got to get to the next dollar.
I love that. I think you have a very healthy relationship with your employer, with the concept of I have to go into work every day. And like you said, if something happens, you're going to be just fine. You might have to tighten your belt a little bit, but you're going to be just fine because you have done all of these things to set yourself up for success. I love it so much, Paul. I love your whole story, and I'm so thankful that you had the time to share it with me. I really, really appreciate it. Is there any place people can find you online?
Yeah, I think probably the best place to go is BiggerPockets. In the forums or direct message me. Like, I do a good job of looking at it on a regular basis. I respond back to people pretty quickly. That's probably the easiest way to get me.
Awesome. And Paul, we will include a link to your profile in our show notes.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for your time today. And my viewers, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more inspiring fire videos just like Paul's. This is Mindy Jensen signing off.